What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Flip Side, a GYTO podcast where we break down, share, and challenge flip perspectives and insights on different hot topics in education. We are back this week. We know you guys are so excited to be back this week for part 2 of our conversation with the one, the only Emily Atkins, where we are talking all things rockstar teachers. Are they thriving or are they hiding? And Emily's back with us on the couch.
Yay!
We weren't even planning on making this a 2-part episode when it initially started. And then
the people
so many
have been
schools
waiting
to go to.
Yeah, the people have been waiting for this episode. So
we got into the conversation and I was like, I literally stopped everybody and I was like, okay, this is going to be an edit, but let's stop. I don't want to rush through this because I think it is such an important and valuable conversation. And so we kind of left everybody on a cliffhanger, which we're going to get into on, did you find happiness? What was the happy ever after?
This is like after the final rose.
Yes.
All of the drama.
I still have a
All
ring.
the drama. Yes, there you go. Yes, she's right.
This is our after the final rose with Emily. Did she find her school? But also we dive into, again, what we're noticing in education, what we can do as teachers, most importantly, to make those decisions for ourselves. We dive into what it was like to move classrooms 4 times to truly maybe possibly find that happily ever after. We're not going to reveal it yet.
You'll have to listen. The Bachelor down. I'm here. I can't think of anything else. We're handing out roses at the end.
But we're not even going to do an icebreaker for this one because we just want to dive into the rest of Emily's story, as well as, again, the role that we all play in the role of education or role of educator and in the field of education to keep the best teachers working and thriving in this profession. So are we ready, guys?
Get your popcorn ready. Here we go.
Ready?
Part 2. Here it comes.
Roll part 2 of the Emily Atkins interview. Here we go. Okay, so we've talked about your whole journey through all of your schools.
The kangaroo of education. Hop, 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 hop to the unicorn.
It's fine.
Sounds like some like magical.
And I do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and I'm sure there are some teachers out there like either stopping in their tracks or reflecting like, oh, do I need to move school? Look at what's like, look and see what's out there. But today's episode obviously is about rockstar teachers. Are they thriving or are they hiding? And so let's dive a little bit into this. I know we've discussed it through your journey, but overall in education, because you are present in the education world, not just in your school building, but also, you made so many connections online, social media, you've met teachers. What do you think is the current status of those rock star teachers who are trying, who are the ones saying, you know what, I don't care what everybody else says right now. I love teaching. I know April has been on this podcast several times, and she's a veteran teacher of how many years has April been?
I think 100. April, what do you?
Yeah, I'm not going to say a number because she'll kill me, but it's a lot.
You would think she's a brand new teacher if you look at her.
And she is a veteran teacher, and she's like, I still love teaching. You guys, people love teaching, and it is should become the norm again to say I love teaching. So if you are that person, shout it from the rooftops and don't feel like you have to hide it. But what do you think is the current status in the education world when it comes to those teachers who still love it, who are the rock stars, who still pour every bit of themselves into the work that they do?
Yeah, I think that, again, back to the whole effort, like if you want to try and thrive, like all you have to do is try. And I think a lot of teachers maybe get intimidated by the room transformations, but I mean, it's just going outside to read or like finding reading buddies or doing a project that maybe like they're not writing an essay at the end, but they're building a sculpture. Like any sort of small change that might be different for your kids is thriving.
Yeah.
And I think that when you get put in the box, teachers are hiding, and it's either on purpose because they don't want to try, or it's because they don't want to step on other people's toes, or they don't want to mess up, or they don't want to get the yellow slip put in their mailbox.
Do you think you see more thriving or hiding? What do you think you see more of right now?
At my school right now, thriving. At other schools that I was in, I saw a couple thriving, but I mean, some teachers can be thriving doing the same thing that they've been doing every year and it works for them. And then there's other teachers that are hiding behind the same thing that they've done every year. So I think it really just depends. But I know you said earlier, like the grass always seems greener, but I feel like when I was looking for new schools, the grass seemed greener, but when I got there, it was like turf. Yeah. So like it looked green, but this is fake grass. So I think it really depends on like And it can depend like week by week whether you are thriving or hiding. Because that's just how teaching goes and how your class's attitude is about certain things.
And I think a lot of times there's rock star teachers, so like the Emily Atkins of the world, or like a lot of our Magic Squad they're out there and they're maybe in an environment where they want to thrive, and then because of others' perceptions, what the teacher next door did, Hope always has this meme of like the teacher next door when you do a great lesson or a cool lesson or something different, and it's like the stank eye bulging out. I think other people's, we're human, obviously.
Yeah.
We as teachers, majority of us are perfectionists, that we want to do the best and we care about judgment of others. We can say we don't, but we care about what other people think. We care about the perception that we have there, and things like that. But I think that perception and other people's opinions and things that they say really affects your drive and your want to thrive. And I think that's where slowly we start chipping away at. You could have easily, once you felt like you had to hide who you were, you said you didn't post on social media for 6 months, you started changing the way you taught, you were trying to fit the mold of that school, you would have easily either turn to negative and just say, I'm throwing in the towel, or listen to her advice and been like, you know what? Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I do need a new profession or things like that. And that's where the shift in education has gotten so cloudy and so gray and so negative, is the one comment that someone made sticks with us. And then instead of saying, you know what? No, I don't care what they say. I'm going to do this. Got to know what's best for kids. They stick to that. And then it slowly just like deteriorates on that.
We teach kids, like draw the face on the paper and then you crinkle it for like a nasty comment.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like with younger kids, but teachers feel like that too.
And you can never get the wrinkles out.
You can never get the wrinkles out. And I feel like we spend so much time making sure that our kids feel safe, but like teachers deserve to feel loved and safe too. And I don't think a lot of teachers think like that. Like, oh yeah, I'm here to support my kids, but like, who's supporting you? What's that? You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, there's two parts for me when it comes to like rock star teachers. I feel like it depends on the school. It depends on the environment. I've seen places where they are thriving, and I have seen a lot of places where they are hiding. And where they're thriving, that school is thriving. Where rock star teachers are hiding, that school is a disaster. That school is not making progress. And I think there's kind of two call outs here. I think number one, admin. I think admin is a big part of this. So I hope to the admin who are listening to this podcast that, this is a moment of reflection for you. One of the questions I've started asking schools as I go into them, and it's honestly one of the things that I end with, is your school a place that allows authenticity to thrive? Because if you are showing up authentically and teaching as yourself, and we know it's a combination of that mixed with, are we teaching, rigorous content, and are we all of the instructional practices? I can't just show up and be myself and, get results, but it's that combination. And when I start asking schools this, like, is your school a place that thrives? Where teachers who are trying, where teachers who love teaching, they are the ones who are highlighted. They are the ones who, and I cannot tell you, that's where people get the wiggle. They start squirming. They start getting very uncomfortable. And I'm like, then wake up. Like, wake up, because we are talking right now in a nation where there is a major, major teacher shortage crisis. Major. And I'm sorry, but I do not believe that teachers are leaving this profession because of the curriculums, because of fidelity, because of the politics behind it, because to me, that's a bunch of bullcrap. I think teachers are leaving this profession, number one, because of other teachers. Because other teachers have made it a practice now to be so negative about this work.
Like bullying them out.
It's like bullying them out.
Oh yeah.
And it's not the bad teachers leaving. It's not the negative ones.
No.
They're still all over social media being negative. It's the great teachers. It's the good teachers. And so I feel like it's teachers who are bullying other teachers out of the profession. So that's number one. But number two, it's admin who allow that to occur. Yeah. It's admin who allow that to happen, because one thing I've learned in being in leadership roles now, which I never even wanted to be a principal of a school. And now here we are with all of the different titles of leadership. But I have very quickly learned, and I had to learn through Get Your Teach On. Because when I first started, this platform and Get Your Teach On, if I did one thing, I made this group of people mad. If I did this thing, I made this group of people mad. People on Reddit, people on always having something to say. And it crushed me. It crushed my spirit so hard at the beginning of this journey, because I was like, okay, well, let me try to shift this and let me try to word this a different way. And maybe that wasn't my intention. I was trying to make everybody happy. Now, as we sit here, how many years in?
Almost 10.
Get Your Teach On.
Yeah.
10
years in. And I'm like, here's what I know. Number one, there is no making everybody happy. If I'm making everybody happy, I am not showing up authentically as myself because I'm just saying things to keep the peace. If I'm doing the right thing as a leader, there is always going to be someone who doesn't like what I'm saying, who doesn't like what I'm doing.
Those are the loudest people.
And those are the loudest people, right? But if I feel like I'm doing what's true to who I am, then that's what's going to get the results. That's what's going to grow. That's what's going to give. So administrators, I understand that there's this whole, thing of, well, what is the climate and culture like in your building? I'm just trying to keep the peace of it. If you are trying to keep the peace, your school will never thrive. It will never be successful. So if I have to choose who I'm going to amplify, who I'm going to celebrate, who I want to keep in my building, it's the Emily Atkins. It's the rock star teachers. It's the gold star teachers. It's the teachers who want to try. It's the teachers who want to shift, who want to change, who aren't afraid to break out of the mold. If I'm going to highlight somebody, that's going to be it. Because then the other alternative is to highlight who? The teachers who are miserable, the teachers who, don't do that because it makes them uncomfortable. Who cares? I don't want them in the building anyways. Like if that's their mindset, I don't want to support that. What do you say, Chris? What's your
if you allow it, you promote it. I always say that. If you allow something to happen and you don't actively do something about it, you're basically co-signing like, oh yeah, that's okay to say or that's okay to do in your classroom or whatever that is. Yep. But I also think it's like a matching game that there are teachers on both sides. There are teachers that are thriving that are the Emily Atkins, the gold stars. I can think of Kiki and Kara, who are some of our Magic Squad leaders. They are high school teachers. When I say they are thriving, like they're the definition of the word. They love what they do. They spread that onto their camp.
Seeing them do that makes me happy, and it makes me want to go do something that they've done.
It makes me want to teach high school sometimes, and that is not a thought in my head. Like there are people thriving, right? Then there are teachers that are maybe wanting to thrive, but they feel like they have to hide because they don't find that balance. So now they're like, either going to go one way or the other. Yeah. You luckily got out of that situation. Then there are the teachers that are just not about it. Copy and paste. I'm going to do it. I'm not doing this outside my contract time. I'm going to walk it. We've been at schools where teachers will not walk in till their contract time, which sometimes is the same time the students are walking on.
Or after.
Because they're saying, I'm not doing it until this. So they will literally, they're on campus. They're sitting in their car. And because it's their contract time, they're not going to go in because that is never going to set you up for success. Outside the school. Correct. Students are outside the school free. Like it is literally sad. So there's those teachers too that are going to do that. Administrators is the same exact pool. Yeah. You're going to find administrators that are celebrating the rock stars, that are celebrating the thriving. You're going to also find administrators that are like, you must teach this here, that are going to write you up for
they close their door.
Pens, that close their door. They're not in classrooms. They're not available. There is going to be pockets of this everywhere, and you just have to match where you're at. Because I remember as an administrator, there were many teachers that I did not vibe with because they were we've done this for 20 years. We're doing this. And I'm like, no, we are pushing boundaries to do what's best for kids. They eventually found a place where they are thriving in their own words. I'm going to put that in quotes because they think they're thriving now because the grass is greener, where they have no accountability, where there's no principal in their classrooms, where they can do coloring sheets, where they can watch these. It's the turf. Because they are not held accountable, and that's what they were looking for. So I don't think those are the teachers of our audience at all. So they're not listening, but they really need to, but they're not because they would never listen to an educational podcast or do anything outside of contract hours.
Right.
But
because they're advocating for teachers not to have to work so hard, and that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it, is to ruin my kids' lives
education and teachers
in classrooms.
Exactly. So I think it's a matching game that find where you belong. For our audience, I know it's finding an administrator where you can thrive, where you can do that. And they do exist. We have all found them personally sitting here. We have also been to many schools where we see administrators and teachers A to Z. There's some administrators we're working in schools. We haven't even met them. At the end of the day, we worked with the teachers all day. We're in classrooms. I'm like, where is the principal? They're like, they were busy. I mean, problem. There have been some Madison Station. I cannot get Madison Station in Madison, Mississippi out of my head. Literally, anytime we ask a teacher, they're like, well, she does it all. Kara, the principal, she's literally incredible. They tear up talking about how they're able to thrive, how they're able to work together. And you can just see the impact it's had. I think she's only been there 3 years. This is a culture that has been built even before her there. But they all just tear up thinking about each other, not even about anything that the impact they're making, which is massive, the impact they're making. It's each other, that I'm able to be myself. I can thrive. I can share my ideas. I can run with this. If I say something, no one's going to judge me or be like, oh my gosh, that's too much. They're like, let's make it that's
saying
what you need to find. Yeah, say yes.
Because I feel like my previous schools, it was automatic, like no.
Are we talking about number 2, number 3? Which one?
Pick from a hat.
Yeah, exactly.
It was automatically no. And I think the school that I'm in now, it's like, how can we make that happen?
Yeah.
And it might not be like as big as my brain wants to go, but like, how can we realistically make that
support
happen?
you in this.
And just like
just supportive.
Listening, honestly. Like, if I have a crazy idea and the fact that you don't automatically say no and just hear me out with it, like, that's all I need.
And you're doing it for kids.
Yes.
You're doing it for kids to have this learning experience where they're growing, they're thriving. That's the end result. So if that's not our focus all the time, I think that's where we need to shift it back to.
Yeah. And my whole admin team is just great. And we had I have a different assistant principal came into my room like 2 or 3 weeks ago and just left like a little sticky note on my desk and was like, your kids look so engaged and your room smells good. And I had the best day after reading that. I was like, wow, my kids are really engaged.
It does smell great.
My 5th grade room smells good. Like, that is
literally.
That's a win.
That's a win for
But just like, that took her, 5 seconds to write that down on my desk before she left. And
because previously you were getting write-up slips on your desk, so
why do you have pens in your
right
room?
yeah exactly.
Your desks aren't in rows.
And I mean, I think we just started talking a lot about, like reflection in the education sphere and looking as a teacher at, okay, what is really my fault? Because there are some things that are the teacher's fault. But sometimes there are many things that are the teacher's fault. And I think, if you had stayed on the campus where you were so miserable and, like Chris said, potentially either quit or potentially, just became that miserable educator, honestly, that would have been your fault because you've shown here that if you choose to make other choices, then you can have different outcomes.
Correct.
And so, I think for so many teachers you might be sitting in school where you are so miserable, like, what are you going to do about it? Because there are so many amazing places that you can be in education and so many amazing schools that you can find. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to keep being miserable and keep blaming everything? Or are you going to, and I'm sure it was not easy taking your classroom, packing it up for
even
my poor husband.
Even the decision, I remember it was at our Charlotte conference. Was it your first Magic Squad or it was somewhere? And Emily, she was in the back hallway, literally in a couch, literally in tears. And I was just walking past, running past, and I was like, oh my gosh, Emily, you're okay? And this is February of this year. So it's still, you have a long way to go to the end of the year.
Yeah, so it was that. I went to Orlando, get your teach on where I met you. You would come to my school.
That same school year.
Yeah, school number 3.
Fanny
Pack school.
Yeah.
And so that was August you came to my school, and it was February we were in Charlotte.
And Emily was sitting on this couch, and she was literally now this is at the conference. You were a volunteer, you were a Magic Squad that year, and you were just in tears. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're okay? And you're like, I don't know. I'm like tearing up. You're like, I don't know what to do. And this was before even it really escalated to what it became. But you were like, I don't know what to do. I think I need to leave the profession. I don't know what I don't know what to say. I don't have the answers anymore. And you were so defeated because you didn't feel like you can be who you were. You didn't feel like you were making an impact anymore because you kind of had to hide who you were. And we had this long conversation about all the different options, and you're like, there's this. One of them was not teaching at all, was one of your options at that point. It was something social media, maybe
it was like social media for school.
Yeah, I remember that. And we were like, okay, that could be a great option. That could be it look like. And you're like, but I love teaching so much, and and you're like, I think I'm going to just set and find a place where I can thrive. And you just owning that and saying that, I think so many people can learn from that. It is never too late. It is never too early to start that. Yes, you don't want to leave in the middle of the school year if possible because that does it. But also, I've had times where I've had to leave in the middle of the school year for personal things and things like that. And you have to put yourself first at some point too. But if you're looking for another school for that, the end of the year, that is a clean slate of here it is. This is
that's one of the best parts of teaching.
Yeah, the chapter closes and you can start
a new page every year.
Literally, you get a new page, a new chapter. You can start finding that place, reaching out to other people, people that finding those unicorns and starting that research, just like you would for college, right?
Yes.
You're not just going to say, oh, the first college that accepts me, I'm going to go there. You're going to find the best place for you, and you apply to all these schools, you test them out, you go visit them, you go on the tours.
And I think that was one of the problems that I had is I wasn't looking at it like, where do I want to teach?
Yeah.
Like, what's going to support me? It was very much of like I don't even know, like, oh, that looks like a shiny new toy, like I'm going to go over there.
Like you want to please them, and it's
there were no questions of like, what are you going to do for me, or how do you support teachers?
Yes, a teaching interview should really be for both parties, and we always did that as an admin team. Miss Lambert, my incredible principal, really set that from the beginning of this is a mutual interview. It is not, well, we'll see if we select you. It's like is it a good fit?
Yeah.
And that's really the main
Both
thing.
sides need to sell themselves.
Correct. Both sides need to sell themselves, as this is as much as us selling our school to you of what we can provide for you and what you will get out of it, as yes, we need teachers. Yeah, we need to fill the rooms, but there have been teachers that we've passed on that were like, they probably can rock it in the classroom. It is not a fit for what is our school and the vibe. And I think just finding that and starting that research is huge. It's never too late.
Yeah. Well, what a powerful conversation.
Yes.
One that I have been really looking forward to having, because I think that it needs to be talked about so much more. Just number one, in the current status that we're in with teacher shortage, but also what teachers are we really pursuing? What teachers are we trying to keep in this profession? Because if we let all the good ones run away and all we're left with is the bad ones, and then we have a teacher shortage, no wonder education is declining. Right. So, I think it's a major issue beyond the teacher shortage. Really, the issue is what teachers are we keeping in these buildings? You know, that's the conversation that we have to be having. So, obviously, we are big fans of celebrating rock star teachers because we've seen what that does for us. We've seen what that does for schools. We've seen that in the most successful places, that's the climate and culture, are the people who are amplified and highlighted are the ones who are trying, who love teaching, who want to be there every day, because it does show. It does show. So thank you for coming and being vulnerable.
Yes. And thank you on behalf of the teachers listening, because I really, there are some episodes where people will message us and be like, I needed that today. We had an episode last year with Dr. Black, and I got an email from a principal saying, this is the conversation I didn't know that I needed to hear. And even just looking at the title, they were like, I didn't know I needed to hear those words from you all during the podcast. And I think that's what it's about, challenging your own perspective and things like that. So thank you because I know a lot of people probably have similar journeys or things like that. And they're like, I don't even want to talk about that. What if someone from my old school listens to it? That's the reality of what happened. So thank you for being honest and kind of sharing that on behalf of teachers. But let everyone know where they can follow you if they want to connect with you. All the things. Obviously, make sure you check out Emily's video of her winning Gold Star Teacher of the Year. You may have seen her in at some of our conferences, in our rooms as a room lead, MC, all the different things. But tell them where they can follow you and connect with you.
So I'm on Instagram and TikTok as @Miss_Atkins, and
well, we will definitely have you back on the Flipside couch soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to catch new episodes of the Flipside every Monday. We release a new one. If you haven't checked it out, we also record these live in studio, so check that out on YouTube, but you can also listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the things. But until then, we will catch you on the
Flipside. Bye everybody.
See you next time.